Guys, what is up? It's Biff from Fearless Mods, and it's been a long time since I've put a video out for y'all. I'm sorry for that. Life is crazy hectic here, getting ready to move on to a new career, and that just takes some time. But as I get ready to move to that new career in Ohio, I've got to get my fleet of cars on the road headed that way. That's where we were last week, taking a car out there. The Trans Am is no longer here. I've got to get the STi to the point where it's done enough. Okay. I've got to get the STi to a point of completion where I can at least drive it back. The goal is to be able to do that in about a week. So I need to get started on the Bondo to get that quarter panel done so I can put the deck lid and everything else back together on this car. Got a surprise in that big box up there. Can't wait to tell you about that. So anyway, let's get started on it. First, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Liberty Auto Subaru in Libertyville, Illinois. They've been a great partner throughout this whole thing. While we get close to drawing this to a close, at least on the returning to factory spec type scale, we'll be having a lot less interaction with them perhaps. But I do look forward to, once we get this into Ohio, to being able to make a road trip up there to Chicago so that we can meet some of those folks and share that with y'all. Anyway, time to move the Subi around here so we can get going on some Bondo. First time doing body work. First time with Bondo, so I reviewed the instructions, and the plan is to just see how this goes. I'm gonna go check my sandpaper grit, see if I can find something a little lower, although, you know what, I might just want a little 80 to get started there and hit these surfaces. So that's first step, prepping for Bondo. Okay, so now I'll blow this off and clean it up. I don't have a good tack cloth, but I'm just going to use a terry cloth towel here, and hope that's good. I'll blow it off afterwards to try to make sure I got all the fuzz off there if there's any. But paint prep. Okay, so now we'll get going with the Bondo. When I opened up the hardener, a lot of liquid ran out. So instead of the cream hardener that it says, it was liquid hardener. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit better this time and hope that it does a little better. So anyways, I had more hardener than I needed for the amount of Bondo I needed, which meant that I used too much, it hardened too fast, and I barely got done what I was aiming to get done. So I got some of this up here and a little bit right here, but I still need to get the bottom parts. So I'll go ahead and get those right now, hopefully with a little better luck on the mixing. Alright, time to get to sanding here. It says to start with 80 grit again. 80, 180, and 320 is what the instructions say, so here we go. So this sander might be good at removing a lot of material quickly, including metal and everything else, and so I don't want that. I'm going to go back to the orbital. All right, so I'm going to learn from last time, and I'm just going to mix up enough to do this, not try to go all ham and try to get it all done at the same time.
Okay, so I'm going to listen to myself, and I'm not going to finish that whole bottom part without mixing up a new batch, because I don't want it to start hardening up on me and doing some crazy things.
Bondo's been sanded. I got some areas here where I need to still go with another layer. There's a couple spots where on the end, as you get here, you can feel just a little bit. So I need to get in these little crevices a little more. Put maybe a little bit of hand sanding instead of the sander. A little more to get into some of these areas here on a second fill. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the initial look. Need to get some in there, and a little more sanding right in here. There's a little bit of a lip, a little hard here with this little embossment. You know, this stuff's all going to be hidden by the ground effects anyways, but just trying to make sure that when it's done and painted, it looks good. The other thing I'm going to do is probably hit some of those areas with the sander, and put some primer on them so that they're not sitting there rusting, since we're going to be driving this thing cross country.
Alright, so apparently
I've totally forgotten how to make videos. Number one, turn the camera on. So what I did is, while I'm letting the Bondo dry, I came over here and I'm starting to sand this out. This is a very deep gouge, and I got the surface and the edges that were rusting next to the paint sanded, but the problem is that crease is really deep and rusted down in there. And so I don't want that rust in there. I'm probably going to get like a scraping, like an awl, if you will, AWL, and get in there and kind of just scrape that to try to clean out the paint and rust that are embedded super deep into that scratch. So first thing I'm going to do right now is go ahead, and while I got the 80 grit on the sander, I'm going to go ahead and hit these rusty spots down at the bottom and get them cleaned up for some primer.
So this is so kinked over, and the rust just works its way up under the paint. So as I'm sanding that away, I keep finding more rust up under there, but it's so kinked over, it's hard to get the sander in there. I'm trying to use just the edges. Fairly unsuccessfully. Yeah, a little bit of success, but it's starting to wear out the edges of this. Just trying to get that out of there. It's almost like trying to get it out of that crease up here. Sanded it with the 80, and the Bondo says 80, 180, and 320. Unfortunately, all I have is 80 and 240, so I'm going with 240 right now. And going over it, I've gotten this part here and here, continuing to work my way down to here. Like I said, I only have 80 and 240 on the grit, so that's about the same that I'm going to get in there. I think a little bit of high fill primer ought to do the trick. So I'm just going to take these and kind of scrape that paint and rust out down in that groove if I can. Alright, let's get a closer look here. So there is, I don't know if you can see it, but there are some, I see a couple little you know, maybe pits right there. Really gonna be hard to see. Just where there might have been a little bubble. It's very smooth, but you know, I just fill that in there, or see that in there. And then, you know, a little bit right there as well. But I'm hoping with the high fill primer that'll be okay. And besides, again, like I've said, this side molding goes on right here. This is door jamb, gets covered up for the most part. Not too concerned. This gets covered up with a strike plate, and it looks pretty good and feels pretty good anyways. Here, a little bit of difference in the overlap there that you can see, where this side was a little higher than this side. So there will be a little bit of a slope there, but that's okay. This all feels pretty good. Same here. And then over here to where the window will go. So
I think we're pretty good. I'm going to look at cleaning it up and getting ready to throw some high-fill primer on it. So first I'll go ahead and do the self-etching primer down here so that I can cover up these metal spots. So my plan here is to hit all of these, hit these with the filler primer, and as well as the these areas that have the body filler, seam sealer. That's what it's called. The defects when you do that, so now those little pits show up a little better. But that is looking good. Alright guys, I got to show you this because it's looking pretty sweet. So the high-fill primer seemed to do a pretty good job. Light's kind of weird in here, so don't know if you can, how well you can see the surface, but I'm pretty pleased with that. A couple of areas where as I come around the edge you got, you know, flat spotting. As you come around that edge where it's kind of gotten sanded down, you know, it needs something that kind of rounds over the edges a little better. So I do see a little bit of that. That will be for the body shop to work out for me. You can see it again right in here. But other than that, the places, you know, the surfaces, the spot welds that I had bondoed are looking pretty good, and the seams are looking pretty good as well. So I gotta say I'm pretty pleased with my first job there. And I've got the bare metal spots that had rubbed all primed up there as well, so that they will stop rusting. So and then for the door here, that's the one that I will just end up doing some Bondo on. And then this one here, that's where I was trying to scratch out the rust. I don't know if I'm in focus or not. I'm trying to scratch out the rust out of that deep trench. And then the plan is to take a stud welder, weld some studs in there and try to bring this out so that I can get it back to some semblance of close to flat, and then do the Bondo on that as well. That's the plan. So getting close. I think at this point I'm probably going to go ahead and let all the primer and stuff fully set up and go maybe try to get some window sealant so that I can get ready to put the window in. That'll probably be the next thing I do, at least temporarily for the drive back, because I'm ready to start fitting all this stuff back together. I'm ready to see how the new quarter panel does with the deck lid and start slapping things together for the drive. Alright guys, it's another day, so time to get at it here with a few things that we want to tackle. I want to sand this. I feel a little bit of a spot right here where as this rounds over the top, there's just a little bit of a low area there that I'm sensing. So maybe a little bit of the glazing spot putty could do that for me. I'm also going to use that to fill any of the little pitted holes that I see around here. And then perhaps up front where we've got a spot where the front door had gotten into the front fender as it was opened. The goal is to try by the end of today to have these things done and the window in, and maybe start putting on some of the rear components here, the bumper and deck lid and all of that. So I've got to sand this wider so that the grounding sleeve of the stud welder can touch metal on both sides as you weld the stud. So to do it on some scrap metal first. All right. New piece of scrap metal is the same as what we're trying to weld to. So let's give this a shot. Turn pressure. And there we go. Beautiful. It was talking about it, that it would put like a 1/4 inch little hot spot around there, and you can see that it did. But that seemed to work pretty good. So I think we're ready to give it a shot up here. The plan is to put them down the middle, spacing probably about an inch apart. Maybe I'll just start here in the middle and work my way out. Voila. Fairly super simple. Now let's see how the slide hammer action works on those babies. Needs to be out like that. Maybe that's okay. Maybe it's just popping out to its original shape. So this is like a little bit of tin canning going on, but it wants to stay out there. So I'm thinking maybe if I pop it, you hit them all again and get it to pop and stay. My problem is if that ends up being, well, there's supposed to be a little positive curvature to it, so it might be all right. A lot better, and it's not tin canning anymore. So I've got it maybe a little there. Probably, you know what, I'm going to put one more stud right there. Looks like it might be about 1/8 of an inch thick or so, right in there. I'm going to hit it, so should be good. Okay, so this has a slight curvature outward, so I've tried to do some of that, some Bondo. We'll see how it works. I've got to come down pretty much to the surface here and here and see what I've done. I don't think it'll be perfect, but maybe good enough for my first time. Okay, I did a few things here off camera, so I'll just kind of walk you through them. First one is this front of the car has been a little bit off over here. This needed to be elevated just slightly, the fender, and it was causing some binding in here. So what I did was undo this fender, kind of had to waller out the holes just a little bit. Waller is an official term. And then cut so I could let it kind of relieve some stress and come up just slightly. And then I bolted it all back down, put it together. Looks fantastic. This work right here, where the door got into the old fender after the wreck, just been working on that one. That one I didn't bother pulling out at all. I've just been filling it, and that should be the last bit of body glaze, hopefully right there. That feels pretty good. The one last bit of body filler here, you can see the darker line right here, and that is because as I was sanding, I could feel that there was just a little bit of a dip right here at the bottom edge, so it needed just to extend down a little further. So that's drying and feeling pretty good, so I think we'll be pretty close on that. Maybe one little bit more of body glaze. I used a little bit of body glaze on the deeper part of the scratch here for the handle. The rest of it I just sanded out with 400, and this one here just filled in. Didn't bother pulling that one out. This feels good here again, where it felt like I had a little dip before. That feels good. So here's what's going on with the bumper cover right here. See if we can get enough light on it here and you can see it. So there's a crack right here, and so you know, when you put it on, it just tends to pull it apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stop drill right there, probably like a 1/8 drill bit or something like that, and just go on the end of the crack, just like you do when you stop drill a crack on a windshield. Keep it from spreading further. It distributes the stress instead of having it all at a point. And then I'm going to use, I got some small fiber fiberglass repair that I will put in the back. I'll scuff it up and I'll put it back here in the back, and then come out here and maybe sand that down a little bit just to be able to get some body filler on there and give that a little coat, and then that should be good. Final day here, at least that's the intention. Final day for the body work on the quarter panel, and go ahead and get this slapped back together. Okay, so for the new window adhesive here, I'm trying to figure out how to make the bead. It says you want it usually like triangular. When the Safe Flight guy did it, it was a big tall triangular bead. They want it to be about 1/4 inch wide at the base and about 1/2 to 9/16 inch tall. So what I did is I kind of sliced the bottom at an angle where it's going to be about 1/4 inch across, and cut a V on one side here so that it would be up to that height, so that I can just kind of lay along here and caulk it and have it come out and leave hopefully exactly what I'm looking for. Alright, so using 3M window weld. I think we got the window in there. Who knows how easy it'll be to take out, but that'll probably be the body shop's problem when we go to have it painted. So window is in. Window is in. Let that set. This here has had a chance to dry, so we'll go ahead and sand these, and we should be done with this and ready to paint. Well, at least it stopped drilling. Okay guys, well, that's where we're gonna wrap this one. Long video, a lot of stuff done, and a long time coming. So, all started off with finishing up the quarter panel and smoothing in the connection points. And we moved on from there to fixing the crease in the door, the dent in the front, trying to repair the crack in the bumper unsuccessfully. So essentially all we've got there now is, after all that work, is just a stock drill hole, so hopefully it won't continue cracking. And we've still got some work to do back here with the deck lid. It will latch, so it's good enough for the trip home. To get this baby to Ohio, and it'll probably have to wait until then. So once we take this thing, this coming Friday, end of May, we're going to be Memorial Day weekend, we'll be taking this thing out to Ohio. Once we get it parked there, it's probably going to be another couple months before you see much more work on this, only because it's going to be there, and I'm just going to be here in New Jersey. It's going to take a while to get moved there and get settled in and be ready to move on. So apologize for the big delay thus far. Apologize again for the delay you're going to see moving forward. But the good news is, once we get it there, is in July, I've already got an appointment to go get the inspection done for the rebuild title. And once we got that, we can get it titled, we can start driving it around and continue the work, get some body work done, mainly the paint, and move on to the next phase of what's up for the STi. Probably going to be some performance mods, things of that nature, but big slowdown here at the end, but you know, incremental progress, big projects, take a lot of time. Please hang in there, stay with us, subscribe, and look for that next video. Thank you very much for those of you that have stuck with us thus far, and we'll be putting out some more good stuff for you here to come. Take care.